Hey, what's up and how's it going, all MRBers? I am Mike McRock and I'm one half of the McRock and Bolt Wrestling Review Show. And right now I'm about to give you my review as well as the results of last night's episode of NXT. So the one thing that I got out of this episode of NXT is that even though they went from feeling like an underground show to a mainstream type of show ever since they launched the network and they put this show on the network, it still feels like their roots hasn't changed one bit, because it's still the wrestling show that's very tolerable for a lot of fans that don't like Raw because of the whole PG concept. And I think shows like NXT, to me, gives those fans that are anti-PG something to actually feel tolerable while they're watching. And they done a great job with that on this week's episode of NXT. For example, the way the show started with a Divas match with Paige versus Sasha Banks. And like I said, this episode of NXT really establishes the wrestling every single week, and they do a great job with it. And even though this was a 7-minute match, they made the most out of it. I actually like Sasha Banks throughout the match. The way she worked the match with Paige was actually pretty good. How she slowed it down using a few submission holds here and there, and Paige coming back and winning the match with the new modified Scorpion block that she's applying. And I like it because, to me, Paige has now rebooted herself. She has a new theme song. She has a brand new t-shirt with the logo of a Are You a Rampager, something like that, and her finishing maneuver. And I think they're doing a great job with Paige being the NXT Women's Championship. And you can make the argument now that she's been champion for way too long and now we need a new champion. I can understand that, but I think, to me, it's too soon right now for Paige to lose that championship. And right now, to me, it feels like there's no one really in contention, even though NXT feels like that Charlotte will be the one next in line because of what happened in the outcome of this match when Charlotte attacked Paige after the match, and only to have Natalya come out and save the day for Paige. And they're foreshadowing a tag team match. I do enjoy that. I think if you want to establish Charlotte as that number one contender, I think the logical thing to do is to have Charlotte go one-on-one with Natalya. And you can use other divas as well that are on Raw and SmackDown to come down to help Charlotte get to that next level. You can put Alicia Fox in there because there's actually a backstory with Alicia Fox and the BFFs when the BFFs turned on her a few weeks ago. You can have the Bella Twins come down and work with Charlotte, and like I said, do those type of things when it comes to establishing your next diva, your next diva's NXT Women's Championship. And the same thing you can apply with the Ascension. The next match that was on the card was them, and they faced Travis Tyler versus Karl Bishop. And like I said, I think that the Ascension needs to face teams that are better than them. They feel really green, but I think as they grow as a tag team, to me, that's the best way to go, and not face jobbers like these two. Even though the match was a little bit longer and they showed the Ascension's dominance a little bit more, that I did like. To me, the one thing that they should do with the NXT Tag Team Champions is to face teams that are better than them. Have teams come down from the WWE roster to face the Ascension. And with that being said, with the tag team division itself on NXT, they need more teams. I cannot stress that enough. The Ascension needs better competition. You can go the route of having them facing better teams, or you can bring in new teams and not facing the Ascension just yet, but working their ranks up to facing the tag team champions to feel credible as future opponents for the tag team champions. So you could go either way with that, and I'll be okay with either or as long as it happens within the tag team division on NXT. And we also saw a backstage segment with Sami Zayn, and he says that as far as he's concerned, he's done with Corey Graves and there's no need to continue. I think what was missing out of that promo was Corey Graves attacking Sami Zayn from behind to let the audience know that they're still going with this feud between Corey Graves and Sami Zayn. And that I'm just going to leave it at that right there. We also saw a match between Mason Ryan and Wesley Blake. I like that they're using Wesley Blake as the jobber that we've seen for the past few weeks now, besides NXT Arrival. So I actually like what they're doing with him before they establish him as that next breakout character, which I hope happens for Wesley Blake. The only little nitpicky issue I have with him is I think that the tattoo he has up on his upper neck needs to go. To me, it don't suit him. It don't suit his character. He's supposed to be this Western kind of guy, and that needs to come out more. I could see a little bit of JBL style in him, and even though he was just okay in the match, it was all Mason Ryan. This was his match to begin with because NXT wanted to establish him as that top monster big guy, and they done okay with it. I think he needs to change up one or two maneuvers. I think his finish is a little weak, and to me the big guy using the big boot is very generic and it's overused. So I think they need to reevaluate Mason Ryan's moveset as well. Also, we saw Alexander Rusev versus Xavier Woods, and to me, the setup of the match was better than the match, and I'll explain why. What happened was that Xavier Woods came out. He didn't dance at all. He was focused. He was tense. He was intense. He was ready for a serious match. That I did like from Xavier Woods. It was no fun and games. This was all serious for him. And to me, that made logical sense on the part of Xavier Woods. It felt realistic. It felt very believable on his part. And what happened was that Tyler Breeze came out. And the announcer mentioned that Tyler Breeze is Xavier Woods' opponent. That's funny because they built this match between Alexander Rusev and Xavier Woods, not Tyler Breeze. That was weird. I don't know. It felt like a little bit of miscommunication going on with just that alone. I was thrown off by it, and I think a lot of people were because they expected Alexander Rusev to come out to face Xavier Woods. But what happened was that Tyler Breeze said that he wants Alexander Rusev after what he done to him. To me, that made sense, but it's funny when you have a heel wanting to face another heel. It's weird, and sometimes the fans don't know who to cheer for, even though they're biased with Tyler Breeze. So to me, that was a little off, but I still like the setup of it, because what happened was that when Rusev came out, Tyler Breeze attacked Woods from behind, therefore Rusev picking up the scraps, and the match was actually going pretty well, I thought, until Alexander Rusev hit the Samoan drop, and that was just very botched, like that hiccup. And yeah, like I said, the match was actually going pretty well until they botched the Samoan drop, and to me that just, I just went, oh, that was brutal. And the way he held his camel clutch maneuver to finish it, it didn't have Woods' arms all the way back. And so that never really felt like one of the most believable strong guy go over type of matches. To me, the match with Mason Ryan felt a lot more believable, but still needs to work on. But with that match with Alexander Rusev and Xavier Woods, to me that just fell totally flat when they botched it at the end, and it just made that match like a not so good match. We also saw a backstage segment before the main event. It was Adrian Neville talking to Bo Dallas, and they talked about the rematch in a couple of weeks. And Bo said that you're out of your league, and he just walks off. And he has a match with Colin Cassidy. I thought this was a solid way to close off NXT, even though there's cliche momentum, which I will get to in just a bit. I thought actually Colin Cassidy improved in the ring a little bit, even though he's very limited in the ring. I saw a little bit more of him. I thought that was pretty good on his part. But to me, this was a match where Bo Dallas just had to win because he has his rematch clause. So it really wouldn't make sense if Bo Dallas lost the match, so he wouldn't feel credible going into his rematch with Adrian Neville for the championship. So they've done a smart booking decision closing off NXT, and I like how they're building up the story where Bo Dallas did not get pinned by Adrian Neville, and like I say, cliche momentum. To me, that's signalizing that in 2 weeks Adrian Neville is going to pin Bo Dallas. But to me, where do you go from there? If Adrian Neville does beat Bo Dallas for the championship for his rematch, where does Bo go from here? I'm not really sure, because there was a point where Bo Dallas made his debut at the Royal Rumble a couple of years ago, but they decided to bring him back to NXT, so I don't know if they're going to do that again with Bo Dallas, only to have him come back again. I'm not really sure. I'm on the fence of Bo Dallas working up the ranks into WWE because they already tried it with them. But with Adrian Neville, I have no problems except for the fact that he needs to work on his promos. And even though, like I said, this is cliche momentum, the guy who gets the momentum after a match usually is the one that ends up losing the championship in his rematch. In all likelihood, that will probably happen with Bo Dallas. Overall, I would give the show a 6 out of 10. It was a hit and miss episode. It wasn't really one of the greatest NXT shows I've watched, but to me, it was still decent and entertaining to watch. And like I said, there were a lot of negative things on the show, but there were also some positive things that came out of it as well. And if you saw it, what did you think about it? Whatever you thought, comment below, let me know. While you're at it, you can follow MRB Wrestling on Twitter. You can hit that subscribe button just down below this video, and you can also like Make Rock and Bolt Wrestling Reviews on Facebook. And on a final note, to all you viewers watching, get plenty of rest, and always do your best.